Greetings folks, Dan here, and welcome back to another edition of Kaiju Showcase. Unfortunately folks, today I'm going to be letting y'all down a little bit. I'm not going to be reviewing the Ultraman Bemular set or the sweet-ass bags of Lay's potato chips that you guys really wanted me to review. Instead, I'm doing something a little bit different, and I do have a certain motivation as to why I'm doing it, not just because it's an obscure figure. It's not my sole reasoning this time, but of course the title says it all. So we're going to be doing the Dreamworks Toy Company. Let's get that little leg down. There you go. Dreamworks Toy Company release of Bogun. Now Bogun is the figure that was done by the Dreamworks Toy Company, as I said, not Bondi. Is with the little tentacle piece, it's probably a little over 6-7 inches, give or take. The detail is really nice. I think it trumps the Bondi version hands down. The Bondi version is nice, but it's really small. It's just not. I don't know if they just didn't give a shit, but we'll talk about that when I actually review the toy. But this is a very nice figure. It's a very large, robust toy. Decent weight to it. It's pretty hard too. Pretty decently hard plastic or whatever they used for it. The coloration's good. The detail's good. This is a vastly superior toy to the Bondi version. The toy was actually released to coincide with the Ultraman Great series, roughly about 91, 92. These toys were released in the States as they ran, I believe in around 92-ish, and it was aired in Japan, or originally came out in 1990. The versions that came out in the US actually came in a box. This one was not boxed when I purchased it, and I'm glad I didn't, because the boxes are a little bit big and they would take up way too much shelf space. If I did get a box one, I'd probably take it out. These were also released in Japan, but the Japan releases were a bit more significant. And all the information I've been able to find is, again, I don't like using the term rare. I think people throw that around too much. But these are probably getting up there to the very hard to find toys. These toys were released in Japan, as I said, around 91, 92, but were not boxed and were actually released tagged. Now, finding one of these with the tag in Japan is, from what I've heard, is extremely difficult. And they can garner a little bit of cash when they do pop up. This toy was released with other characters from the Ultraman Great series, Garukadon, Majaba, Killa Z, really cool characters like that. Japan actually got an exclusive Gigasaurus, which I'd like to get and also review. I think that'd be an interesting piece to have. But enough of the little bit of history behind the toy here. All in all, it's a great figure. I'd really recommend it. Detail's very nice. It's just nice to have a bigger toy like this instead of kind of a piddly ass one that no one would kind of throw aside. And I think Bogun's kind of neat. He's one of my favorite kaiju from Ultraman Great. Now here's a little bit of history behind the character Bogun. He first appeared in the very first episode of Ultraman Great. It was actually after the fight with Gudis, which is another really cool character I think is underrated and has a very unique design. After he was defeated, Bogun appeared on Earth attacking a nameless city. I'm sorry, I didn't know the name. Actually, when I watched these episodes, I got the Japanese movie form that condensed a lot of it down to a film, and the one I watched did not have Japanese subtitles, so I just rolled with it. I generally know what's going on, but some of the finer points I might have missed out on. He appeared in a city, rising up from the ground, until the main character, Jack Shido, popped up and became Ultraman Great and did battle with him. While Bogun is really cool and I do like his design, again, he was no match for Ultraman Great. He really fucked him up. The only big thing he had is his little gas attack that it seemed to render Ultraman Great unconscious or motionless for a short amount of time. But again, it was all for nothing, and Bogun was ultimately defeated. Again, I don't usually spoil that in my reviews, but it's kind of inevitable. Sadly, Bogun has made no more appearances. I would like to think, for the fact that Ultraman Great and Powered appeared in some of the recent film iterations of the Ultraman universe, that maybe someday some of the powered Kaiju or the great Kaiju will appear, at least maybe one or two of them. It's probably a long shot, but it would still be kind of nice. Now the last little bit is of course market price or availability. These are out there. As I said, they were released in the US, they were sold in I believe Australia as well, and they were also sold in Japan. So they are out there, 3 markets. Of course they weren't super duper popular. They're not very expensive. You can usually get boxed ones. Generally I see them go for $5 to $10. It's not very much. Sometimes you'll see a little bit more, people trying to get to a little more than I think they're worth. I'm not sure how much they cost brand new. I imagine probably in that price range, around $5 to $10. Probably about 10 just because of their size. But even if you're not a fan of Ultraman Great, I would look for these. I'd really recommend them. As I said, they usually seem about $5 or $10. That's a really good price. Even loose, I'd still pay about $5 to $10 for them boxed, 5 to 10, maybe 15 if you really want the box. The box is not relevant to me because, as I said, they wouldn't stay in the box for me. They just take up too much space. They're nice toys. Get them. The detail's great, the price is great, and again, it might introduce you to Ultraman Great, which I believe was a rather underrated, you know, Ultraman series. And you know, I noticed I haven't been spinning this guy like I usually do, so we'll carry on with it anyway. Now, usually I would cut off the video right here, but this is the big reason why I wanted to do the video. I actually got a little bit of information about this Kaiju, and I think it would be a good history lesson for some folks that didn't know, because you know, surely I didn't know this, you know, going into, you know, doing this review. I ran across an individual named Norman Yiend. My apologies if I said your last name wrong, Norman, but I'm really bad with names, so I apologize. He actually was working on this series back when it was being developed. He's actually from Australia and currently lives in Australia. Though he didn't do a lot of work on this specific Kaiju, it does bring an interesting point up. I'll probably have some images flashing on the screen here if it cuts over, and that's just kind of showcase a couple things. He worked on this, and he showed there was a couple preliminary designs he showed me where Bogun was supposed to be more of a seal type monster. Why they changed it to the more lizard-like thing, I don't know. I rather like the seal-ish dugong kind of look to it. I thought that was kind of sweet. You can still see it in the design here. The bottom head is clearly, if you watch the show, is the dominant head. The top one's just kind of there. It does some stuff every once in a while, but you can, if you just watch the show, the bottom head clearly has the say in the matter. But I mean, it's kind of interesting to just come across an individual like, oh yeah, I helped design that, like, because he did the bottom half. He worked on the bottom half, like the head and everything like that. And I was like, wow, you know, how many people are you going to meet, you know, let alone even if it's just a, you know, exchanging messages between one another. How many people are you going to meet like that? The guy actually went on and actually did design a full Kaiju. He did Garukadon, which is really cool. I'll do him later, and we'll discuss more about his design and some rejected designs, or rather one rejected design that I got that I didn't use for him. But that was kind of the big thing. I wanted to thank, I did ask Mr. Yin if I could provide this information. He said that was fine. I really want to thank him for that. And again, and thank him for working on a series, even though most people would consider it irrelevant. It has shown that Super I does believe that the Great and Power are good enough to be part of the Ultraman timeline and bring them back for some of the films. And they don't get a lot of big screen time, but you see them, and to me, I like that because those little obscure series that didn't last very long. So I'd like to thank him again for working on these, being a part of that, allowing me to make mention of him and show off some of these pictures he's provided for this review. Again, folks, this will be it. You know what you need to know about the toy. I recommend it. Go pick it up, and I'm going to get out of here for today, and we'll see what we work on next. Maybe I'll do that bag of chips for you.